Sitting Bull was born in 1831 in Grand River, Dakota Territory as Jumping Badger. He was a famous warrior, medicine man, tribal leader, and a leading figure in the resistance against the U.S. government. He was against any treaty that made them give up their land and their way of life. At 14, he joined his father in his first war party against the Crow. During this raid, he knocked a Crow warrior off his horse with his tomahawk, giving Sitting Bull his first counting coup. When they returned home, his father passed his name on to his son, Buffalo Bull, who sits down, shortened to Sitting Bull. That event took Sitting Bull on a journey that saw him become a great speaker for the Lakota people who were being persecuted for simply being native. Treaty of Fort Laramie, also called Sioux Treaty of 1868, gave the land and all the animals in the Black Hills to the Lakota people. The U.S. government was supposed to relocate the other natives and anyone else living in the Black Hills. After the treaty was signed, the Black Hills was off limits to all people not Lakota. Not long after the treaty was signed, gold prospectors started showing up in parts of the Black Hills. The Lakota saw this as a break of the treaty. In 1874, General Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills to see if gold did exist there. When he sent messages back that in fact there was gold in the Black Hills, the gold rush started. Within 2 years, there was 25,000 miners in the Black Hills. The U.S. government tried to buy the Black Hills back from the Lakotas, but the negotiations were resisted. On December 6th, President Grant ordered the Lakotas in the Black Hills to report to designated reservations by January 31st, 1876, or they would be considered hostile and the U.S. military would respond. Sitting Bull and his tribe resisted. This led to the U.S. attacking the Sioux while on the camp at Rosebud. After this small skirmish, Sitting Bull led his people to Montana, in the valley of the Little Bighorn. In 1876, the U.S. sent Custer's 7th Cavalry to track down Sitting Bull. On June 25, 1876, General Custer's 7th Cavalry arrived at the Little Bighorn River. One thing Custer didn't know was that Sitting Bull had done such a great job of leading that there were numerous tribes with him and around 2,000 warriors in his camp. So when Custer attacked the camp, he had split his cavalry into 3 separate forces and was severely outnumbered. In the end, Sitting Bull and his warriors annihilate Custer and all 265 men in his unit. After the Battle of Little Bighorn, Sitting Bull and his followers fled to Canada. After 5 years of nearly starving to death and living in horrific conditions, Sitting Bull and 186 of his followers surrendered to the U.S. government. Sitting Bull was the last to surrender his rifle. They were immediately sent to Fort Randall in South Dakota. In 1883, after years of pleading, Sitting Bull and his family was sent to Standing Rock Reservation. During this time on Standing Rock, he started to farm oats and potatoes, as well as raise cattle and chickens. In 1885, Sitting Bull joined Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show. He rode in parades, did meet and greets with the fans, and rode his horse in the arena. On December 15, 1890, Indian policemen arrived at Sitting Bull's house to arrest him for his involvement in the ongoing ghost dances that were happening. As the officers were escorting Sitting Bull out of his house, some of his tribesmen took notice. This started a riot-like event. As the officers were trying to calm the crowd and escort Sitting Bull, shots were fired. When all the smoke cleared, Sitting Bull was shot twice, once in the chest and once in the head. He was dead. In all, 12 men had lost their lives. Today, Sitting Bull's body is buried near Mobridge, South Dakota. Sitting Bull never stopped fighting for what he believed in, that the Black Hills were sacred and that their way of life was the only way to live a life that honored the land. He thought this so strongly that he was willing to die for his culture.